Welcome to the Fly Route Pod. I'm going to cut to the chase. About 96% of y'all watching this video have not subscribed, and I need that number to go up to continue to make these videos and support the channel. So slam that subscribe button on your screen right now and hit the notification bell. And while I have you, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors at mybookie.ag. Mybookie.ag is the best place for you to get your sports betting on. MyBookie.ag has live in-game betting on every NFL game for my diehard cappers and prop bets such as the over-under on fantasy points. Use promo code FLY and receive a 100% match on your first deposit up to $1,000. That's double your money to double your winnings with your first ever deposit using promo code FLY. I want to give you my division predictions. We've talked individual predictions in the division. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to talk about who wins these divisions. Now, a first set of them aren't even an interesting conversation barring something catastrophic happening. That's the Afc West with the Chiefs, the Nfc South with the Buccaneers, the Nfc North with Green Bay, and the Afc East with the Bills. Now, granted, there's been a lot of buzz about the Patriots coming up to challenge the Bills for the Afc East. People like Stephen A. Smith putting them on his top 5. Count me out on that for now. The Patriots, I think, are a playoff team. I think that they will be good this year, but I do not have them challenging the Bills for the AFC East at all. The rest of those other divisions I listed are not going to be competitive. The fans of those teams that think it might work differently are delusional. Now, let's talk about the interesting divisions. That's the AFC South, the AFC North, the NFC East, and the NFC West. Those 4 divisions, I think, have usually at least 2 teams that really have a shot at winning that division, if not more. And that is really where I think the interesting conversation is going to come up to. So in the AFC North, the 2 teams that I think will battle it out for winning this division are the Browns and the Ravens. I think the team that doesn't win the division will obviously be a wildcard team, will be doing significantly well. But out of these 2 teams, I will take the Browns in this division. I think the Browns are a deeper team, a healthier team. They have a better receiving core. OBJ coming back from injury, Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, better running back tandem. J.K. Dobbins, Justin Hill is hurt. We know what Lamar can do with his legs. But on the other side, we are talking Nick Chubb and we are talking Kareem Hunt. That is just a significantly better option for the Browns. The defense is comparable, but I don't think the Browns defense would be as consistent or as frequently as good as the Baltimore is week in and week out. I just think Baltimore is one of the best coached defenses in the league. We know quarterback wise, I would probably take Lamar over Baker Mayfield, but that's only 2 of the things. We got the skill positions, we got special teams, we got everything else. I honestly believe that the Ravens will be competitive this year and will be quite good, but I think the Browns will edge this one out and take the AFC North. Now we go down to the NFC East, and I've been stalwart here. No change, and it cannot change. I think the Washington football team will take this division, but right now there's a chance that they battle it out with the Cowboys at the very tail end of the season, but squeak it out by a game or 2 in my opinion. This defense will carry them all the way through the season. Montez Sweat, Chase Young, etc., and they've made some additions to their secondary that I think make them even better. They've made additions to their receiving corps that makes it even better, adding Curtis Samuels, Terry McLaurin, and Logan Thomas. For the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys can be good. The Cowboys have a lot of potential, but there's just too many questions for the Cowboys. Is Dak going to be healthy all season, just on the ankle, let alone the baseball throwing injury he has? Is Zeke actually back? Is the offensive line going to be able to hold up and stay healthy? Is the defense actually going to get better enough to matter? Because they were historically bad last season. They added Dan Quinn. He should hopefully be able to make some changes in just like scheme, coaching, etc. But they were terrible last year. It's not like the Washington football team doesn't have any questions, if I'm being honest with you. They have a large question at quarterback if Ryan Fitzpatrick will be able to game manage and take them to that promised land, which I believe after watching him play with the Dolphins last year, if Tua never played, I think the Dolphins were probably a playoff team with Ryan Fitzpatrick last year, and he's coming to do that with the Washington football team, which are actually in a similar situation, if not better situation than the Dolphins were the prior year. The AFC South is a division that I think is honestly going to be the toughest for me to decide. I have the Colts and the Titans vying at the top of this division. The Titans, weirdly enough, had a lot of hype at the beginning of the season, late offseason, when they got Julio Jones, when they got Bud Dupree, and the hype train has died down significantly for the Titans. And this one's going to be significantly closer for me because I think the Colts are going to be able to hit the ground running finally. They're going to get Carson Wentz back for game 1 after that foot surgery that he had to have. They have a decent defense for sure. They have a great O-line, even though week 1 they may be missing a heart and soul of that offensive line in Quentin Nelson, one of the best offensive linemen in football, with a back injury he's currently dealing with. But they aren't missing him for an extended period of time with the foot surgery that he also had. And the Colts being able to hit the ground running with all of their pieces, sans T.Y. Hilton, is going to be kind of important for them. I think it allows them to build momentum early, and it's what I think allows them to possibly challenge the Titans for the division. Now, the Titans, it's just hard for me to count out with all that talent. A.J. Brown is a all-world wide receiver. They added Julio Jones, one of the greatest wide receivers of this generation. Running talent like Derrick Henry. It's just hard to count out this team, even though they've changed offensive coordinators. Talent is talent. And I expect that talent to shine through. I expect that defense to get a little bit better with Bud Dupree joining in and some other changes made to the defensive side. But I think the defensive side is definitely the weakest part of this team. I'm still going to take the Titans for right now. I think their quarterback is more durable. I think their running back is better. I think their receiving situation is better. I think their defense is not. So I'm still going to take and bet on the Titans to come out of the AFC South. That leaves us with the NFC West. And I know people will be thinking the NFC West should obviously be the hardest division for you to call here. And I don't think this is the hardest division for me to call. It's just the hardest division in football. You know, the Seahawks, the Rams, the 49ers, and the Cardinals. But the 49ers just got deeper in the offseason, simply from getting guys back from injury, kind of like the Patriots did from opt-outs. And they also have a QB2 that can actually step in and win them games. Not just manage them games, not just try not to lose them games like all of the other backups before for the 49ers. They have a legitimate quarterback too that could win them games in Trey Lance. And injuries was this team's kryptonite, and they shouldn't get that unlucky back-to-back. However, the Rams on the other side, who I think are the team to most challenge them for this division, have been hit by the injury bug early and in key places, losing their lead running back. They also lost a lot of key talent, especially on the defensive end, over free agency in the offseason. Over a 17-game season, I am going to take the deeper team to come out of the division. Aaron Donald gets nicked. They're going to be significantly worse of a defense. God forbid. Jalen Ramsey misses a game or two. Significantly worse. Obviously, we never want to wish injuries on anybody. But the depth of the 49ers is the reason why it's easy for me to take them coming out of the NFC West. I don't know how fast Stafford will come off for the Rams. I do expect him to be good for them, though. But he's learning a new offense for the first time in a really long time in a whole new situation. A much better situation, but a whole new situation. There's just so much more continuity for the 49ers coming out of this. So that leaves us, right, with teams that have coming out of the playoffs so far are the Chiefs, the Bills, the Browns, the Packers, the Buccaneers, the Titans, the Washington football team, and the 49ers. Now we got to talk about wild card teams. In the AFC, I have the Ravens, I have the Patriots, and I have the Chargers. I already told you about how good I think the Ravens are earlier. The Patriots I talked about a little bit earlier. The Chargers are the third team for me. I think there's a chance that if the Chargers stumble, the Colts can walk on in. But I legitimately think the Chargers will make the playoffs this year. Now, the NFC, my wild card teams, I have the Rams for sure, the Seahawks for sure. That's just because the NFC West is that good. And the last team that gets in can actually be quite bad. Like the Bears went 500 last year and made the playoffs because the rest of the NFC is not as good. So this last spot is a little tricky. So I think there's a couple of teams that are possible to getting in this last spot. I have the Cowboys, the Vikings, and I'll even toss in the Bears depending on when Justin Fields starts and how they can get their O-line together. But right now I'm going to lean towards the Vikings with Dalvin Cook, with an improved defense, and with a star in Justin Jefferson, accompanied by a very, very, very well-established wideout in Adam Thielen. So I think the Vikings will be able to sneak in the playoffs as I have it now. But these last spots, the Colts and like the Colts Chargers, the Vikings Dallas, is a super flux spot. That middle bottom of the league is always pretty hard to predict. And I think that is the spot that is going to change the most. But I actually like the rest of everything I have in my predictions here. And those are my predictions for the playoffs and the divisions this season.